Let me sum it up. Why are all immigration restrictions illegal? Outside of the fact that the Constitution doesn't grant that authority to the government, and anything not granted to the government is prohibited in the Constitution of the United States. So there's reason one. Now you can then go back to the original constitutional debates in the first Congress on the floor, and they actually even talked about whether, maybe it would be nice to restrict who comes in here so we can only have the best. But it was said as a joke, and they in turn said, obviously we don't have that authority. And then when the government, 10 years or so later, the federal government tried to make an immigration act, not to prevent immigration, but only that people had to register. Many of the founding fathers were absolutely outraged at the idea that anyone would even have to register to immigrate to the country, because that was a violation of the basic fundamental freedoms that were upheld in our rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution. I'm trying to summarize this as briefly as possible. So, to the question, why do you not have the right? Why can't we protect ourselves by controlling who comes in our borders? Number one, because it doesn't protect you at all. That's a farce. That's a psyop to make you a slave to politicians and government. Obviously, the people that are going to be invading you don't care if there's a rule. They're going to have the bribes, the means, the machinery, etc. Or in the case of, let's say, narcos, they're already working with the CIA, with the Border Patrol, and they're all in cahoots if they're high enough off on the rank. What the Border Patrol doesn't like is not that drugs, for example, come into the country. It's that they come into the country without the proper payments being rendered and without working through the proper channels and playing the right games so that them and their people get the reward for that trafficking. Just one small sliver of why people think immigration should be restricted. So aside from the fact that immigration restrictions of any kind are completely contrary to the Constitution, because no authority is given, something that most of the constitutional liberty educators that I've dealt with do not seem to grasp, because they only read the Constitution much like religious people read the Bible and take what they want, gun rights, but no rights for immigrants. Secondarily, they say, well, this is our home. You don't have a right to enter someone's home. And that's BS, because one of the basic laws of natural law and human rights, this goes back to things like John Locke, something becomes your property when you take it out of nature. The road is a public thoroughfare. The empty field is not taken out of nature. You're not invading someone's home. You're exercising the right to travel. If they're breaking into your home, that's another matter, and you have a right to defend yourself. These, again, are the basic fundamentals that go back to political philosophers like John Locke. You have a right to meet force with equal force, and no more. A poor family walking across a field doesn't count. It's simple as that. Now, if that land is your field, your orchard, you've taken it out of nature, you have a right to say, this is my land, you need to go over there to the public road. But guess what? If you weren't terrorizing poor people, they wouldn't be traipsing through your field. They would be coming in freely on the road, which, by the way, they did up until recent years. People think that these immigration restrictions go far back, but in truth, the restrictions of Latinos coming to work and participate in the United States, most of those restrictions came in around the start of the drug war and the scam that went with it. There were many illegal immigration requirements before that, going back to the early 1900s. But they were nothing like this, where you had to apply and you had to wait. They were just asking you, generally speaking, to declare yourself, which they also, by the way, have no right to do. It's not protecting you, because those who give up their freedom for liberty will have and deserve neither, as Benjamin Franklin wisely said. And that is why all immigration restrictions and controls and arrests are illegal. If you support the Border Patrol, you are a criminal by participation, because their entire job is to tax, terrorize, and traffic. And if you think that you follow Christ, and it's okay to abuse the poor, the weak, the fatherless, and the widow, which are some of the greater sins, then maybe you should go back to Deuteronomy, where it says you are to welcome the foreigner as if he was a citizen. All immigration restrictions are unconstitutional on the individual man. All immigration restrictions on the individual are violence. All immigration restrictions on the individual are a violation of human rights, because we all have the right to travel, to work without permission, to survive, to live. And then you have the audacity to say, they come here to manipulate us, to use our welfare, and to steal, while with the same mouth saying they shouldn't be allowed to work. They shouldn't be allowed to eat unless they have permission from government. And so to top it all off, all immigration restrictions are sin. They're wicked, and they're a violation of the most basic laws of nature. Peace. Okay,